Jada is back at it here to give everyone another Walking Dead Season 9 episode reaction video. But before I continue with that, it's extremely important if you're not caught up to the point where I am in rewatching or watching The Walking Dead that you take the initiative and pay attention to the episode title, which of course I'll put in the description for you. If that's the case and you find out that you're not caught up, I suggest, and so would everyone else, that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. This will be The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 14. Title of this episode is called Scars. This will be my reaction, review, recap of the episode after just watching it. So the episode is kind of a split between a flashback and present time. Flashback being months after Rick's apparent death. In the flashback part, a very pregnant Michonne and Daryl look for any trace of Rick. And Michonne actually finds Rick's python or Rick's revolver, presumably in the spot where Jada/Ann had found him in 905. And it wasn't really damaged at all. It was buried under a little bit of stuff, but it wasn't damaged. Well, Rick got blown the fuck up. You should know that he's probably alive. And how the hell did his python get way over there? Put two and two together, Michonne. Anyway, during this time period, Daryl explains to Michonne his choice to live on his own, and then Michonne returns to Alexandria alone. In a later time at Alexandria, but still in a flashback, Michonne watches as some strangers arrive at Alexandria and discovers among them is one of her old college friends, Jocelyn, who's actually played by Retina Wesley of True Blood. She played Tara on True Blood, one of the best characters on that show. Michonne vouches for her to the others and brings Jocelyn in for medical care. But Jocelyn urges them to recover the children she was protecting at a nearby building. And then they safely recover the children for Jocelyn. That night, Jocelyn explains to Michonne that all of the adults of her group have died, but the children have become skillful hunters. Meanwhile, all of Jocelyn's children, including Judith and other Alexandrian ones, enjoy a bonfire. When morning comes, the Alexandrians find that Jocelyn and the children have all fled, killing at least one Alexandrian, kidnapping Judith and the other children, and stealing much of the community's food and medical supplies before fleeing into the sewers. Daryl, he joins Michonne to track them down. Michonne laments about how she trusted Jocelyn, but Daryl convinces her that it wasn't her fault. People change. They eventually find one of the children sneaking around at a school and give chase, but they are both lured into a trap by Jocelyn and the children. Sometime later, Michonne and Daryl wake up bloodied and tied to a pipe and realize that Jocelyn has brainwashed the children to become vicious and nearby feral. And then they are painfully branded with an Iron X, a sign of strength according to Jocelyn. When they are left alone, Daryl is able to help them escape and then decide to split up to look for Alexandrian's children, who are forced into a trailer outside, Judith namely. In the hallway, one child slashes Michonne across her bloodied stomach with little regard to the infant that she's carrying. And then Michonne eventually finds an exit, but is immediately beaten over and over with a wooden plank by Jocelyn. This Jocelyn character is, nobody usually gets the best of Michonne, but Jocelyn is. However, of course, Michonne summons the strength to stab Jocelyn in her leg and then her chest, killing her friend Jocelyn from college. And then Michonne convinces the children that they can all return to Alexandria, but Mitchell, the second in command of Jocelyn's group, instructs the children to kill the Alexandrians. She is forced to kill Mitchell and begs the kids to stop, but they all refuse and charge towards Michonne. With no other options, Michonne is actually forced to kill them all, one by one, to munch of her anguish. And then after the massacre, Michonne and Daryl recover the children. Michonne decides to no longer allow strangers in Alexandria. And then as a result, relationships between Alexandria and the other communities, the Hilltop and the Kingdom, they break down. And that's kind of why the communities have been kind of distant with each other as of late. And then in the present time, Aaron alerts Michonne of Daryl's presence at the Alexandria gates, including Connie, Henry, and Lydia. Daryl vouches for Lydia to convince Michonne to let them take shelter. They stay long enough for Henry to get medical care he needs, but Michonne refuses to provide them an escort to the hilltop. And then later, Judith talks to Daryl, disappointed about how Michonne has been acting. That evening, Daryl, Connie, Henry, and Lydia take off to return to the kingdom, with Michonne seeing them off. And in the morning, Michonne finds Judith has left on her own, having taken Rick's python or pistol or revolver, whatever you want to call it. She essentially asks Negan about if he knows where Judith is, but he instead tells her that Judith is trying to follow what Carl had suggested for the communities, and upset that Michonne refuses to let anybody in. And then Michonne goes off racing off on her own and eventually catches up with Judith as she is surrounded by walkers. The two fight off the walkers as Michonne takes care of Judith's non-fatal wounds. Judith tells Michonne that she remembers witnessing her kill Jocelyn and her children in order to rescue her, and something Michonne was not aware of and had not talked about it with her. And then Judith then explains that she feels that Michonne no longer has love for their allies and went on her own to help them. They hug and reconcile. And then back at Alexandria, at Carl's grave, Michonne explains to Judith that they never wanted to bury another child, but after the incident with Jocelyn, she decided to make Alexandria only about those within the community to keep the children safe. Michonne realizes what Judith's concern has been and agrees that they should help protect their allies. Finally, they go off to catch up with Daryl's group via a horse-drawn carriage to help them arrive to the kingdom faster for the fair. They soon arrive and enter the kingdom, and then unaware that a pair of whisperers are watching them, and they have to tell Alpha about this, and that's how the episode ends. So, pretty crazy episode to a certain degree. I really loved Jocelyn's character. Rutina Wesley did a great job. She was great on True Blood as Tara, and she did an amazing job in her limited capacity here on this Walking Dead episode. I really enjoyed a lot of it. I'm glad that Judith has finally convinced Michonne to stop, doing what she's doing and reach out to the other communities that they've been friends with for so long. And I liked it for the most part. So I'm going to give the episode an 8.5. It wasn't perfect by any means, but it was a deep, dark backstory, especially with Michonne having to kill all the kids because she had no choice. I mean, what if they all would have came at her at once? Then what would have happened? I don't know. Character of the episode is obviously Michonne. She was pretty epic in this episode, although Jocelyn's character was pretty awesome too. So you've heard what I have to say. I want to hear what you say, or I want to hear what you thought. If you're a fan of Walking Dead and you like this episode, Scars, from Season 9, a lot of people I remember really liked this when it first aired. Go ahead and smash that like button. And if you didn't like the episode, but you're still a big fan of The Walking Dead, make sure you smash that like button. Show your support for The Walking Dead. If you know anybody that would be interested in this particular video, go ahead and share the video with them. Don't forget to leave me a comment with your thoughts. You can talk about this episode, or you can talk about anything Walking Dead related, even the current end of The Walking Dead Season 10. Here's Negan, or Walking Dead Season 11, the final season of the main Walking Dead show. And of course, last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your day of support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.